All right. Welcome, everybody, to the second episode of the Proxy podcast, where we talk about everything Descent. We're going to be going over some huge events and news that have been going on in the Descent world, and honestly, there have been a lot of news. I'm super excited for the second episode of Proxy podcast, and even more excited to have our guests, and we'll get into that in a second. But first, we're going to go into the news. Actually, we've had a lot of really big news this week. Those who are involved in the community would know why. But just to hit on a couple of those, Inferno Editor's most new release has introduced tunnel building, finalizing its release of version 1.0.10, and some would argue cementing its place as the best editor in the Descent franchise. For a lot of map builders, we've been stuck using DLE and SDL Devil, and for Inferno Editor to come in with sprite altering, custom textures, like it's never been this easy. And now we have something like tunnel building, something that was only possible in DLE. So now, I don't know. For me, I'm a map maker. I like to make maps. I feel like I don't know. DLE's replaced now. I feel like Inferno kind of takes the cake as far as doing everything. But that's really exciting. Proxy 1 is doing great work. I love listening into his dev talk and watching him document that stuff as well. And we actually have another thing about Proxy 1 in the news, but I'll get to that in a second. The Observatory Tournament is next Saturday. Be there, be square. I'm going to have to verify on this. I'll put it on the screen, post edit. But it should be 2 to 4 p.m. PST, right? So check the Observatory Discord server if you're not sure and you want to check yourself. But I'll probably put an indication as to what time that's supposed to be on the screen. We have Retro AR3. This is a big one. This is probably one of the biggest things that happened to Descent in a long time. And I know I say that a lot. This is huge because it has all the capabilities and functions of AR2 through 6B, like I mentioned in the last podcast, episode 1 with Lee. But it's more stable and in the built release. Or AR3, sorry. AR3 also supports high-res PNGs or otherwise high-res textures. This is a huge step for Descent and another reason why Arn is the GOAT. There's so many more things about AR3 that makes it amazing. What I just said is probably the staple of what it is, but I highly encourage you to go check out Arn's GitHub and look at all the work that he's invested into AR3. Those who don't know, my SNG fork is actually forked off of AR2. So he's making waves in the community, not even just as far as new content, but his development as well. You know, he's opening up that bridge for a lot of people to jump in and kind of do some stuff with the community. AR3 is huge. There's so many more things about it. I highly encourage you to check it out. And also a huge thanks to Arn for just being ever present in the community like he always is and helping out whenever needed. D1 Retro SNG 1.6 is unfortunately delayed until further notice. I was debugging it last night and ended up breaking it in a way that's going to require me to go around the clock to release it as soon as possible. It's unfortunate. I hate it. I wanted to release it today, but it is what it is, and I'm gonna be working my butt off to try to get it released in time for you guys to enjoy the new game modes. I haven't released the trailer or the teaser, but I will say right here and right now that there are new game modes. This is a huge update. I'm really excited about SNG, but yeah. Terminal's map Lacrosse has made waves as one of the most anticipated maps to come out in recent times, as extreme geometry and display of custom textures has set the bar higher and higher for what to expect from map building nowadays. Honestly, personally, I don't even want to make maps anymore. Like, if I make a map, I just don't feel like I'm going to reach that bar that high, right? So great job, Terminal. I really appreciate you pumping up maps. And Lacrosse is definitely a huge step towards modern map making for Descent. Proxy 1's anticipated Crispy Chocolate D1 progress was leaked a little in the Descent Dev Discord with display of text merge textures and high detail and lights. You kind of have to go see it. Now, I mentioned AR3 has high-res textures, but this is a little different. He's kind of merging the textures. I'm not sure what's going on there. It almost looked like an AI completing the textures. But as far as like the lights, it looked really detailed. You could kind of see like the individual bulbs, which is really cool. Proxy 1's doing lots of really, really good work. He's really cemented himself as an amazing developer in the in Descent history. And I think Crispy Chocolate, or wait, no, maybe that's no, sorry, not Crispy Chocolate. I lied. Inferno, Inferno Engine. I got it confused with SB. He's making Crispy Chocolate. He's also a great developer. No big news on that yet, but I will eventually get to it in next few podcasts. But Proxy One's Inferno Engine progress was leaked a little in the Get Dex or Discord. Lots of really cool stuff. That's definitely something to keep your eyes out on. And as far as the news, I think that's about it. I might have missed something, but that's all I could think of immediately. So with that all out of the way, now we can get to our guest. Say hi.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Glad to be on.
Absolutely. For those who don't know, this is B2af. B2af is a craft legend at his own Xbox controller usage. He pioneers the controller usage in D1 and is undoubtedly the best at what he does. B2af is a really scary opponent in DCL and makes me want to break my keyboard almost every single game. Often my immediate rival, B2 can demolish me and even beat the diamonds on a good day. He demonstrates skill and improvement as of an ambitious pilot, and even more so, his non-conflictive attitude even in the face of loss. All right, yeah. He's a true gem
Yeah,
of the Descent community, and as far as the future of Proxy, you might see him very soon.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you. That was an awesome introduction. I'm kind of flattered. I'm blushing here, Code. Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
But yeah, that's great. But yeah, I you have no idea on how much time and how much thought got in that I put into the controller. I want to play with a controller, and ever since I think until the Elite controller came out, the Xbox Elite controller, it was usually a keyboard, joystick, or a mouse and
Yeah,
keyboard arena. And I'm like, no, I want to play with a controller because I love the way that it feels. It's comfortable. I can play hours on end without my hand hurting or whatever.
yeah,
And yeah, and that's it. Just makes more sense. And with
yeah,
with the professional and competitive controller like the Elite has paddles on the back end, and that allows me to bank left and right and slide up and down. So that enables me to fly. However, there's no compromise whatsoever, and um, that's the cool thing. I remember back in 2015, they announced it, and I was at field training at the time, and I was like, oh my gosh. Again, I was getting yelled at and everything, and I was like, I just want to play Descent on this controller. And uh, it was interesting because I went to field training, and I think they announced it like 2 weeks before or a week before I went to field training. I can't remember, but I remember just sitting on that bus, just thinking about how my controls would be, uh, if I had it in my hands now. And but yeah, even before I had my hands on it, I was thinking about the control schemes and all this other stuff, and
mm,
it really helped out, and I over the years, people have been asking, how do you do this, and I'm like, okay, this is how you do it. Here's what you need to do to get started. Um, but if you're not a controller player, there's a huge learning curve. There's a huge learning curve if you're not used to the paddles, or if you're not used to the control sticks.
mhm.
You're going to fly around like a noob, and it's a large learning curve. But you know I mean, heck, it took me about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks to get used to the paddles. um, but after that, I can't play a game without those paddles, and I can't play Descent without anything else. You
It's
know,
insane to me. So could
yeah,
you tell anybody watching like what programs you would use to do it? Because I know a lot of people are curious.
Yeah. So when I first started, I used X pattern because the problem with Descent is Descent doesn't recognize the triggers as buttons. It
Okay.
recognizes it as analog. Um, so it thinks it's like a stick or something. So you can't just go to the joystick section and then hit the R the trigger and it works. It doesn't work like that. You have to use like a alternate program to trick Descent to think that it's a button. And I used XPattern for years and years, and that was great. And the cool thing about XPattern was I was able to do button combinations. Like I could, you know, switch weapons. I can do, I can tap and hold and tap and double tap and hold, and each combination would represent a different function at Descent. And I usually use that for switching weapons. So that was, that allowed me to do a lot of things. Like for the A button, I can switch between the Vulcan and the Fusion, for example, by just changing up the button combination, and that gives me flexibility that gives me a lot of flexibility. Now I graduated. I'm not using XPattern anymore. I'm using Steam. Now they have, drivers for the Xbox Elite controller. So I just use Steam exclusively.
Wow.
And like all I have to do is just use Steam. They have everything that XPattern had. And the cool thing, it syncs with my computers because I switch from, my desktop to my laptop, and I go back and forth, and I have multiple computers, and it's just like, man, it's hard to, sync all the paddles together and sync everything together. Now Steam does that for me, so I don't have to do anything. So that's a huge win. But yeah, to get Descent working, use the controller configurations
Awesome.
on Steam.
I actually didn't
But
even
yeah,
know Steam had that. I mean, I thought you just continued to still use XPattern, if I'm being honest. Because I know you told me that
yeah,
years ago.
yeah. I used XPattern, but I discovered, they recently, came out with drivers, and I can
Mm.
use it natively. So yeah, that's a lot of fun, actually, and but I'm willing to help, anybody, uh, you know, I guess graduate
Mhm.
to a controller, get rid of those nasty mouse and keyboard.
Right. Mm. I mean,
you
I can't
know,
agree. I like the keyboard from the mouse. Whatever.
I know, yeah. It's always fun because you see on Reddit and you see everyone's like, oh, keyboard sucks, and then I'm just smashing your head with a keyboard, with a controller. And you're like, how do you do that? Well, I mean, it's a lot of fun, but
Man,
uh,
I'll say one thing. As far as like on Reddit and as far as on Discord and as far as forum boards, DVB, DCL forums, everywhere I go, I always see the question, how do I get my Xbox controller connected? Or how do I get my PS4 connected or controller connected? Everyone wants to know. So there it
yeah,
is. The Steam has a now. Does Steam have like built-in software? Or is it like a third party?
no, it's built in. There's a button. It's called controller configurations, and once you add the game to your Steam, it'll have that.
Wow.
So
Okay,
yeah, it'll have
that's
it,
really
and
awesome information actually.
yeah, and then you have to go into the settings and then add Xbox Elite extended support, and it installs specialized drivers for the paddles, and then you go in, and then you just change the buttons to the keyboard keys, and you trick Descent so it thinks that you're pressing a keyboard instead of a joystick button or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's how you do it. And then you just keep the joystick as joysticks because the joysticks, the control sticks, they are still registered as normal. So yeah, that's how I do it. And
Wow.
but yeah, I definitely enjoy it. I don't. I hate. Uh, I want to help other people get their controllers up and running and be competitive too. I don't want to, you know, just to get it up and running and, fly around like, you need help. I want to get you up and running and help you learn the
Yeah,
controls,
yeah.
So,
There it is. There's a community reaching its hand out once more. I'm telling you, this is one of those communities, for those listening, one of those communities where everyone's welcome. But to segue from that, I guess would be my first question, right? Most people would guess that this is the question that is first asked, but I think it's an incredibly important question. So, B2, where did you learn about Descent?
oh man, where did I learn about Descent? It went actually. My uncle Charles, uh, he he kind of your dad,
My dad, right?
yeah, because we're cousins here, but so when I was a kid, we would play Descent 2 co-op all the time, and it was just we would play with the joysticks. It was a joysticks only, and I would walk over to his house and play play games, play Descent 2, and we'll play hours and hours on end, just playing each other. And of course, I would just beat him. But that's what we
Oh,
did,
oh,
And
snap.
he kind of introduced it to me long ago. And but yeah, and ever since then, I've been hooked, and I haven't given it up. My wife kind of makes fun of me. It's like, oh, you're still playing that game? I'm like, yes, I am playing this game. It's because it's so unique and it's so fun to play. There's no other game like it, and so
That's the joke everybody
yeah,
makes. It's like you can't
yeah,
play this game
exactly,
without the criticism that comes along with it. Like, why are you still playing that 30-year-old game, man? Like literally, my
yeah,
friend yesterday
exactly.
was just like, dude, like play a real game, man. Like, let's play Overwatch 2. I'm like, no, dude. Like, I want to play this game. Like, I had one guy tell me,
Yeah,
they were like, why are you coding on it, dude? It's such a waste of time. And I was like, yeah, definitely a waste of
yeah.
time.
I don't know. It's so interesting, So I don't. But it's so much fun. Like,
Yeah,
and I
definitely.
haven't put it down since. Oh gosh, how long ago was that? Probably
I mean, it sounds like it was
forever.
before I was born because I don't remember. I don't
Oh yeah,
remember.
this was way before you were born. So
Dang, man.
yeah, this is way before you were born. And
Because I don't
but
even
yeah,
know what you're talking about, man. That's crazy.
oh yeah, I would go and I would play games with your dad all the time, and you know, and I think Matthew played my brother, but he
Mm.
didn't. I guess he didn't get so involved with it.
No, but it's really
But yeah,
interesting. My dad, well, Uncle Charles. I'm sure that he's listening to this. I told him about the podcast, but
yeah,
my story is a little bit more complicated than my dad showed me. But essentially, I wouldn't know about this game if it wasn't for my dad. And through this
yeah,
game, me and B2af kind of figured out our descent, cooperation, our relationship. Descent was a huge catalyst for that. And it's kind of
yeah,
funny actually that some of the best pilots in the game happen to be so closely related.
yeah.
And as much as Brian hates to admit it, or B2AF Brian, whatever, he is in fact inferior to me. I am the better distant pilot, and
What?
yeah, it's
No
true.
way.
It's true, man. It's true.
I I
But
don't know. You may be better at fusion than I am, but I don't think you can beat me.
the video on my YouTube channel proves otherwise, man. You got absolutely destroyed.
Oh man, just one match. Oh
Okay,
man.
all right, whatever. As soon as you get on a better connection, bro, you're done. But
Yeah, I exactly. I don't know. Maybe you're done.
okay, other than nostalgia, what about Descent do you love more than other games? Like, what makes you love this game aside from the fact that you've been playing it for so long?
It's the fact that I can do rolls and I can bank and slide up and down. It's like it's a first person shooter without gravity, and
Yeah.
that is the best
Yeah.
kind of game. Really, like if you look at these other games, it's just like
Like freaking
it's
Fortnite,
it's
Overwatch, just
yeah.
repetitive.
You look at yeah. It's just that uniqueness is why I'm kind of drawn to it. I love the 6 degree aspect, and it just I get you can make that argument. Well, it's like it's so unique, and you can't find that elsewhere. With the exception of Overload, and that recently came out, and
Right.
um, but
Right.
but that's another topic. Um, yeah, that's another
B2 doesn't
topic.
like
But
Overload, is what he's alluding to. That's what he's alluding to.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. I want to like it. Like, don't get me wrong. I want to like Overload, and uh, but I don't know what it may be. I guess it's the way it feels, or it may be. I haven't really put my finger on it. But it's not. I Okay. So what gets me is I'm a 1v1 player, right?
Right.
I want to play 1v1. I love the high speed chess action, dynamic chess action between me and someone else. That's awesome. And when you do that in Overload, you just get let down.
Hmm.
You oh man, this I want to beat you by myself. I don't want to, hammer you down and then someone else get the kill. Like, oh, they're just that just it just irritates me, and the lack of missiles, like, and you play a match and you only have just a few missiles to play with,
Yeah.
and each level doesn't have the whole gambit of primary weapons. Like, every weapon has its purpose, right? Um,
Yeah.
what like with Descent, you know, there is a purpose for the spread fire. There's a purpose for the plasma. There's a purpose for every single weapon in its unique situations. So you need all the weapons. Taking one weapon out, it's kind of like, okay, well, I can't play this certain way. With Overload, it's just like, okay, well, I'm just going to load up, the impulse and just
Yeah.
hold on
Spawn
the
with it.
primary. Yeah, let's just hold down the primary button and then freaking spray and yeah, that may
Yeah.
be my perspective, and that's how I felt, um, and yeah, that's it's just not it's not a 1v1 game,
Right.
and yeah, that's I want to like it. Maybe somebody may make it a little more inviting for, maybe they can update it, or I don't know what they need to do to make it make it feel better in
Yeah.
my sense. But yeah, that's the problem, like, I want it to I want to use the whole range of primary weapons, and it's just not there. Like, I think there's uh like the what is the one with the oh gosh, I can't remember the stupid I can't remember
What
the
what is it?
it's the one with the long, I don't know. Either way, it doesn't matter. Uh yeah, but that's my little spiel for Overload.
There is an Overload 1v1 ladder. However, to no surprise, it doesn't really get much activity. Maestro's done a great job on that ladder. Shout out to Maestro, helped me a lot out with a lot of Project D related ladder code. But But there's Overload 1v1 ladder, and then Arn made a classic mode in Overload where you start out with this like a descent related match. So there are ways to play it, and B2, if you want to play like classic mode in Overload 1v1, that's fine. I'd love to do that. Kind of give you a taste of Overload in that way, but you're not
Yeah,
far off. Overload
yeah,
is not very 1v1 friendly. It's more of a team anarchy cooperative game, and I feel like that's why OTL works so well. Because really
yeah,
that's what it's about. And I like team
yeah.
anarchy. I love my team. I was the founder for a few years, and it's just a very fond memory in my brain, and made a lot of really good friends. And B2 is actually on the Space Cowboys.
Yeah,
Yep.
I am a terrible teammate. I know that I am. I see the messages and I'm like, oh man, I like it's so. I'm just a terrible teammate. That's all it is. I'm
Oh.
just a terrible teammate, and I need to get on board and freaking find a way to like Overload. I need to dig deep and like get into the
Soul
mines
search.
and play, yeah, and do all that stuff and figure it out, like what's the fun part of Overload.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh, but yeah, one maybe one day that I'll get into Overload and um, you know, but but right now it's kind of it's like pulling teeth trying to get me in, trying to get me in the, I don't know what you call it, the mines. Do they call it the mines there, or
Something like that.
buildings? Okay,
All right, man. Time to get
cool.
the juicy stuff, man. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Favorite DCL? Hit me.
Favorite DCO. Okay. Um, so this is when I was bronze and I was playing Lady Silver,
Holy crap.
and yeah, we were playing. It was a 32-30. Uh,
Whoa.
the match went up to 32-30, and I won, and it was infused. And it was a time where you know me and her, we were just about even. Like it was a toss up. Every DCL match would be like, all right, let's do it. I would win one, she would win one, and it was just like this back and forth. And I remember so vividly, my hands were shaking. I was literally nervous. My hands were
Yeah.
sweating. I was like, holy smokes. Um, and that game would go down in history. Like
Yeah.
I remember that game and how I felt afterwards. Like I felt so relieved when I beat her. I was like, holy smoke, I can't believe I beat Lady Silver, because I think she at the time she was silver and I was just bronze, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. I was so happy, that I was getting to a point where I was beating some silver.
Hmm.
And
That was a dark horse too. I can imagine that factoring in as well.
oh yeah, it was so much fun,
Yeah. Was that
and
around SDS podcast as well?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
Might
I
have been
think it was
before.
before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. She may have been bronze. I don't exactly remember. I just remember she was much better than I was. I think she was silver at that time. I would have to check the DCL page, but she was. It was a legendary match, and I think it went down to be as one of the longest DCL matches in
Yeah.
history.
Yeah, I was
I
about to
think
say, I
the
think the
number.
only one higher is Lee and Hyper, right? 32-31
Yeah,
or 33-32 or 31, whatever.
I think they went like 36.
Oh
I don't know.
shoot.
I think they went a little higher than me and Lady Silver. But that was the game that really, I don't know, like that was a game that just kind of drove the 1v1 passion, because you would feel like that intensity, like when you face someone and you're nervous, your heart is beating, and you're sweating, and you're about to
Yeah.
break your controller. That is why I like the 1v1 when you face someone. Uh, when you face someone like that, it brings out a level of competitiveness that really is unique to any game, really. Like you're going all out. You're trying to win,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
the response that I get from those 1v1s, I don't normally get from any other game, and that's why it's so much fun to play 1v1. And Descent, or any other uh, you know D1 game or Descent game.
Yeah, absolutely. No, he's right. I describe exactly what he was talking about as like a descent rush. Like it's like
Yeah,
you're
that's
so
it.
overwhelmed with the competition that it's like you're fully immersed in the game, and then you become hyper aware and hypercritical of each mistake that you may make. So if you open the wrong
Yeah,
door or you do something wrong, especially in overtime, you're just overwhelmed by that
yeah,
anxiety, by that pressure that the game like throws on you. I mean, it's like a mountain on your chest. And I've had lots of those moments, and some of the best descent pilots also has that exact moment. But no, but you're right. Like when you're in that moment, it gets pretty intense, man. And that's when the game
yeah,
just feels the best, because all that like adrenaline that you get from the game. It's definitely something.
yeah. Yeah, especially when you're even, in
Yeah.
skill, and it
Oh
just,
yeah.
that is where it's so much. That's where it's a lot of fun.
We've
And
had a lot of
sometimes
those
I get that from
matches.
you. Yeah, I get that from you as well, because we're going to be, lifelong nemesis. You know, it just is. We're just going to be lifelong nemesis and
Yep.
Descent. It just will be like old men just playing Descent.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah, man.
Like, but yeah, uh, that's usually how it goes, man. That I still remember that game, and the many games with, and then I quickly overcame. I shot up in skill, and
Yep.
I
Yeah.
was able to, take down Lady Silver pretty easily, and then it graduated to freaking Vaniac. I always say freaking Vaniac. Like, how does he do that?
Yep.
Because he would always get the best of me. Because he was gold and I was silver, and there would be like one or two games where I would just best him, and it would always end in like 2015, 2016. To his favor, and eventually I got to the point where I was gold, and we started, you know our matches started to become really close,
Yep.
and then he stopped playing, unfortunately.
It's so funny. I can't believe we've talked on the podcast. This is the second time Vaniac has been brought up. It's so funny to me.
Oh yeah, I
Vaniac
have
was
so
really good.
many, like, Voniak was like fantastically, like he was really good, and like I I just I have fond memories of the battles that we would have in DCLs, and that just, it's like, oh, when I see Vaniac pop in games, every once in a while, I'm like, holy smokes, let me drop everything and let me go play Vaniac,
Yeah.
because of the uh the battles that we've shared. Yeah, it's kind of like, when you're, in the trenches, and you see your buddy next to you, you kind of feel that, you
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
feel that, that friendship, and you're like, oh wow. And that's how I feel with Baniac when he jumps in. It's like, oh, there he is. That's my friend. Oh, let's go play. Let's battle. But yeah, that's usually how I don't know. That's how I feel.
So who would you say? All right, and this is a tough one. If you don't want to answer it, you don't have to. Who would you say are the top 5 DCL pilots of all time?
Uh,
Because B2 is just as, if
I'm
not more, involved in the DCL than I am or ever was. So
Yeah, I was pretty involved in the DCL. Um, of course, I would have to say the top five pilots. I would have to say Mark 392, Jedi Luke, and then I would have to say, oof, and then who's number three?
yeah, that's the difficult.
Bahamut.
Bahamut.
Yeah, I
Okay.
would
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
say, yeah, I would have to say Bahamut. Of course, myself. Not including me. Not including me. Not including me.
Okay.
Let's see. Man, who else?
I know who's
I
in
remember
B2af.
at number four. I know DJ CGR was like legendary. You know,
Was
at one
legendary.
time. Yeah,
I don't think he holds a
he
candle
was.
to competitive meta today. Last time I,
Yeah.
or no, I don't think I've played him, but I played Soldier, and they were around the same skill from what I've seen, and he didn't. I held him like 15.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was pretty. Oh, and Dracona. I would have to say Dracona is pretty. Was up there at one time. But here's the thing: like I just remember, when I played them, when I was bronze and
Mm.
silver. So I remember thinking, "Gosh, these pilots are just so good, and I can't even hold a candle to them."
Yeah.
And
Yep.
now, I probably, I recently I beat Dracona, when she was not playing as much, and I think that was at a LAN, and I remember getting to a point where I was a considerable in the 1v1. I think I was like gold, and I was able to
Talking about the 2019 LAN.
handle her. Yeah, I think it was 2018 or 2019. But yeah, it was probably 2019, and I was able to get her. I was able to beat her. Um, and that's probably like I probably in my entire Descent career I probably beat her maybe 3 times. Maybe 3 or 4
Really?
times.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's
Well,
hard to
it's
get a game
because
with her.
yeah, that's exactly what it was because she stopped playing and she probably had like family responsibilities and probably work and other
Yep.
things and so um, but yeah, that was the issue. Like, yeah,
One thing that always surprises
um,
me is when I hear people talk about their top list for the DCL, nobody mentions Cyrus. Like, did
yeah, I was
people
thinking
forget
Cyrus.
about Cyrus? Like, holy
No,
crap. Cyrus is like,
I do remember.
he's
Yeah,
crazy.
he was a unique pilot. He would not play for like months and months and months, and then he would jump on. He would be garbage, and then he'll play Jedi like 10, 15, maybe 20 matches a day, or more, and then he would get up to be gold, and he would just like that's all he would do with the matches.
But
But yeah, Cyrus was good.
I gotta say, I'm looking back at this list, and this was the 7th, or the 29th of the 7th in 2020. B2, you was 25.88 skill rating. Do you know what the promote to diamond line was in that time era?
No, no.
24.00. You belong in that top 5, B2.
Yeah. Oh well, maybe
I
I
was
do. But the problem was, see, here's the thing. That's the problem. There was not a lot of people to
to gauge that against.
adjust the,
Yeah,
the numbers. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was just like Jedi constantly, and then Mark every once in a while, and then that goes into like Project D. It's like how can we get more people to play Descent? Generally, that's the problem.
yep.
What is the initial problem? Like, why can't we get more people to play Descent? And I believe the reason why people um, don't want to play. Well, one, it is kind of difficult, but another, I think the community is fractured.
Yeah,
And that's
for sure.
I well every there's not
Sorry.
one Discord server. There's like many Discord servers, and each Discord server has unique pilots that contribute to their conversations. Like people in the DCL server is not in. Some people in the DCL server is not in the, the other. servers like the Six Hang or
Yeah.
and then the Descent Rangers. I haven't clicked on that much.
Dude, they've actually been really active lately.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. Like, I think the problem is that I it would be nice to have some sort of community awareness, like what's going on, like some sort of web page or something that shows, okay, what's going on in the community, who's online, who's playing, right? Who's playing a match,
Mm-hmm.
and then and we can go from there. Like maybe have some sort of feed, where you can follow pilots. If they beat someone, that shows up on your feed, and if they post something on Twitch, it shows up the match. Something like that, and that's yeah, something like that. And where you have like an awareness of what's going on in the community, like when's the next LAN, and when's the next ops, and when's the next tournament, and when's the next Descent Rangers. So what's going on in the community,
right?
Regardless of what server that you normally check. Like the r/descent Discord server. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in there that I've never met before or do not even know. Like if you roll through the Descent multiplayer chat, there's like who are these people? Like how come they're not playing? Like why are they not playing with us? Like when you scroll through the online people, who's Jay Cotton? I have no idea. I have no idea. Hey man, let's play.
Exactly.
And I don't know. That's just what I think. There needs to be some sort of community awareness tool, or and that we were talking about how we can solve that, and you and I, we kind of found that answer, and that's where project, I was really interested in doing this, and you're like, hey, can you do this? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And then I started trying to code, and I was like, holy smokes, I'm over my head. I'm over my head, and I don't think I can execute on this. So that's why I'm in school for software engineering, So
yes, that was definitely one of the things that I wanted to hit on, and I'm super excited to get to talk about Project D as well. So yeah, obviously you said the goal of Project D, right? The goal of Project D was to unite the community. It was to give a platform for everybody to come together, and stuff like exactly what you said, like who's playing, what are they playing, are they online, stuff like that. I was actually thinking maybe it might be interesting to kind of mix both of those elements inside Descent. Like, what if we had like a tracker built into Retro, or maybe like an activity feed? That's something to consider, because I know how easy it is to make a new menu. I don't know how to connect data, but it wouldn't be that difficult, regardless. But you're right.
That's that. There's so much you can do with Descent, but my only thing is, you look at the D2X XL guys, they were like, I'm going to make Descent, like this crazy thing with radars and, all this other stuff, and have all this, everything under the sun. Let's have it, and let's have like high-res textures and high-res everything and high-res freaking, I don't know, everything.
Yeah.
So why isn't people playing that? And what's the limb back on the on D2XXL? Is it because it's not built properly? Is it because it's poorly written? Like I don't know. That's what I think about. At night sometimes. Like, man, why can't I would like to see Descent 1, retro with high res textures. I want it to look nice. I want it to, So when I'm showing off my friends, I'm like, oh, this is the game that I play, and they look at, it's
Yeah,
pretty
like what is
bad.
this?
Like, yeah, exactly. But when you show like, hey, I played Descent, and it's got like high res, textures,
Beautiful.
and yeah, and it looks beautiful. It's like they may be like, oh man, that's interesting. Maybe I could play, but then again, you might play, then what's maybe that's like I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
it's definitely different. There's a lot less significance in saying, "Hey, I play Descent," than saying like, "Yeah, I play Jedi Knight Academy." Like this old
yeah,
game still gets a huge community. It still gets tons of mods, and it's
but the
beautiful. They keep getting it up. They keep making it better.
but the question is like, where do you stop? Like, how can we prevent? If we have so many ideas with retro and your build, and how do we keep those builds from turning into D2XXL?
I think it's
Like
important to
that's what I
remember your like core values in the community, like why you're doing something and what makes Descent, right? You know, so like
yeah,
if you remake the game with completely different everything, like the fusion's a different color, alongside the damage is different, and like you're fly faster. I mean, obviously those things would all be like reversed if it was toggleable, right? But if you just changed
yeah,
everything about it and expected everybody to love it, then yeah, that's fine. That's one of the things with
yeah,
SMG. I don't expect everybody to love it. I just expect the people who want something new to love it. Because I feel like, here's my
yeah,
thing, and this is the thing that I wish people realized. You know, if you just let something run its course, because that's essentially what the DCL did. That's essentially what the Rangers did.
yeah,
Rangers, no, Rangers do belong in this conversation because I feel like the reason these communities die out, and maybe it's just because I'm younger and I have like a more progressive towards success like attitude, but like if you're not willing to change things, if you're not willing to make them better, if you're not willing to experiment and try new things, then your product, your community, your ladder, your events will run its course. It will eventually die out. And you never
yeah,
saw any change in any of these communities. And I think that's part of why Descent is where it's at now. Like how like the UDL, IDL, DCL, they're all the same, just different pilots. That's
yeah.
about it. And it ran its course.
Y-
People lost their interest.
Yeah, see, yeah, that's the thing. Like, I thought about that as well, and you know, maybe that's what brings players back. Like when you think about these other games, like when you think about Halo or Call of Duty, what brings back those players?
Yeah.
You know, time and time again, or Fortnite or whatever. What brings players back, and well, it's fun, and a lot of times maybe there's like challenges that people want to achieve. You know, like maybe like for this Project D, it's not only an awareness tool, but you can also implement a challenge system or award system where you can display your achievements or something. Look, I beat, I play, beat 10 matches or something, and you get this achievement or whatever on your little page on the Project D website, something like that. And that's just my idea, I guess. That may drive participation in Descent. And not only that, I think more if we just have one daggum build, like
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
if that was the case, instead of playing, oh, I want to play this, and you played, Rebirth, and you have people that are like, I only play Rebirth and not anything else. And then you have people that play, I only play retro and not anything else. And then you have and then these other forks are coming out, and it's like, well, this fork has this feature and this fork has that feature, and it's like, oh, let me just download this for that feature. And it's like, holy smokes, like, can we just make this simple and just have one build, and then have, I don't know how it's going to work, but that's part of the, like, at least for me, like when you play on an Xbox or you play on any other game, you don't download multiple exes for that game unless there's like some sort of mod. But that's what this is. It's a mod. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But anyways, that's, I think if we can just have a simplified, front, people can just download one exe, one mod, you know, then we can start playing. Think about Overload, for example. There's not multiple Overload mods. There's
Right.
you just
Just
like
the one.
everyone downloads the one,
Right.
and there's a lot of community involvement in that one, one that one mod. If we could just do the same thing with Descent, I think we'll be on the right track.
I think that's definitely a good idea. There's a lot to unpack there, obviously, it would be nicer to just use one, and I can't say that you're wrong. I think that retro, that fork divide, it does in ways hurt the community. I look at it in a
Yeah,
sense that while that's the case, it's also important to remain fresh. Bring new things to the table.
yeah, and
I think
you're absolutely right when you're like, man, I wanna build this point system. Point capture is what you were talking about.
right.
Like, that seems like a lot of fun. Where it's kind of like King of the Hill.
Well, it's already I finished it. We
Yeah,
gotta
it's
play it
already done.
soon.
Yeah, exactly. Where you got to control this center, and the longer that you stay in that center, the more points you get. And once you hit the point limit, you win. And that sounds like a lot of fun, especially in a 1v1 or and I'm like,
Exactly.
wow, that's amazing. That sounds like a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
you're absolutely like, to me, that's what the community needs. I
I hope it
think the
makes it to
community
retro.
needs a little more, it's a little different, and it adds a different, like, view on the game, and I think that's what people thought, and I think, getting beat by Jedi was kind of old,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I think it was like, okay, well, he's the only one that's driving, tons and tons of matches, and he's just, to me, I can get beat like all the time and just keep trucking through. It's like, oh well, I got
Yeah.
beat, for the 50th time today. You want to play another? Like,
Yeah.
that's just my personality. But other people, it's kind of demoralizing when you're just like destroyed all the time. You know,
Yeah. It's
and
difficult for new players in that same regard.
right, and
Because
when you
players
add
are so
different
good.
game modes, or it creates a different aspect, and it may give other pilots an avenue to like the game more.
Absolutely.
It's not just it's not just anarchy. It's like point capture, or something else, and that's something that we can like drive, that we can implement in Project D. Is like, oh, let's try to figure out how to drive point capture, or
Deathmatch
bounty,
as
or
well.
horde, or deathmatch, or something like that. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and I think doing something like that would drive the community involvement, and you would grow the community and probably get people that stop playing, you know they would be more interested in playing something that's a little new and fresh.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
I think. Yeah. I think. Yeah. Absolutely. Everything you just said. I think it's important to drive the people, towards the community. Um. I lost my train of thought. I was going to say something. But yeah, like, so. Oh yeah, that's right. I wanted to explain Project D. So because we've
Okay.
talked a lot about it, and some of the community knows what it is, some of it don't, and this is actually the first time that we've publicly come out about it, as far as like
Yeah.
explaining what happened, where we've been, aside from like tidbits every now and then. But essentially, I'm going to start from the beginning. So me and B2af, we work really well on projects. We have the same vision. What we want to see in the community is very similar. I'm sure you've heard a lot of that in the community. We're passionate about the game and the people, and we wanted to contribute to that. So I'm not really sure how it happened, but one day we had the conversation about 3 years ago, 3 years ago, and we decided that we wanted to contribute to the community after the DCL shut down. We were made DCL admins, and then not too long after, the DCL shut down, and we had that taste of progression towards the community, and it was taken away and really quickly, and the DCL went by. So we decided that we wanted to start Project D with the notion to continue competitive 1v1s, 2v2s, 3v3s. We wanted to continue the game where the DCL left off, but in a different way. Like, our goal was not strictly to stick with Rebirth, but to stick with the fork or the version that was the most progressive towards the future of the game. We wanted things to stay a certain way, people to play a certain way. Like, we just wanted people to enjoy the game, but not just by the DCL tyrannical leaders, right? Like Jedi or Rethink or Mark. We wanted people to
Those
enjoy the
that
game outside of that. I mean, it's true. It really is. Like,
but I
they
know that
own
sort
dissent.
of Game of Thrones.
They own dissent. You know, and
Yeah.
all love to them. By the way, this isn't. I'm not trying to say bad things, but
Oh yeah,
um,
we love those guys.
like, we wanted to build something for people to play. We wanted to build something for new players to enjoy. We wanted to build something where it wasn't just 1v1s. And of course, we had the last podcast, Lee slightly touched on glhf.gg. That was that. I don't want to say it was a failed attempt, because the owner of that ladder shut it down quickly after it was started. I feel like it had the legs to run. He just didn't let it go far enough. We kind of want to do what glhf.gg did for Descent, but we want to make it more mainstream. We want to make it more modern. We want to make it more user friendly. We want to incorporate it with the forks. We want to make sure that this game leaves a good legacy as far as cementing itself into the modern world with modern technology and modern strategies, stuff like that. I mean, we talked about, we already have the website up, and you'll actually find that website in my YouTube description if you want to just check out what it is. Check out, that's not the final product. It might change, but that's kind of what we're aiming for. And you can kind of see our vision and what we want to bring to the Descent community. But I want to say around a year ago, we started getting the code together. Maestro supplementing me with the code. We was building it together. I even made a Discord bot. We were doing really well. And then I joined the military, and B2af has already been in the military. So we were both really busy. So between college coding classes, joining the military, and working, getting my life situated, I didn't have the time to do it. And so eventually, me and Brian had to kind of put it on pause for a while. Not to say that it's unpaused now, but we had to pump the brakes a little bit, because I think we were getting a little over our heads, and there was a lot of work involved, especially for our vision, right? Like, our vision isn't just some one tiny little ladder, right? Our vision is way bigger than that.
Yeah, continued sustainment.
Right, continue sustainment with lots of things, right? Like, we wanted apps, we wanted websites, we wanted incorporation of the game, we wanted game modes, we wanted multiple ladders. Discord integration was another huge one. Like, we wanted so much for the game, and then we realized, with our scope of time that we have and our current skills, because, by the way, at this time, all I had under my belt was a sandbox environment Python coding class. Now I can actually code. Now I can actually do these things. And that same goes for Brian as well. Like, he's been getting his coding he's been working on that. He's been getting better. We've both spent a lot of time working on ourselves, finding time to do things, and coding as well. So now I think we're a little bit more comfortable. And once we find that pocket of open time, I'm sure we'll get working back on it again. But as far as an explanation as to why we went dark, especially as to why it went, haywire, I think it's important to consider everything that I've said, and kind of remember that time
Yeah,
for what it was.
yeah. I think I think we wanted, we went into the ice cream shop and we were like, oh, look at, we could have all this. And then, in reality, we couldn't. And we couldn't just get the whole ice cream shop. And that's kind of how I felt, when I started trying to figure out how to implement the Discord bot and implement a 1v1 system. And, there was a lot involved, and I was like, man, I want to learn how to code, and software engineering and was the best way. And that is really what prompted me to get to to get my master's in that, so, and I'm still working towards completion. I'm still in the middle of all that, but it's kind of a, it's a continued progress. It's like what you're saying. It's, as long as we have something, we're building on ourselves so that we can, provide a good service for everyone, for a game that we love.
I just realized, and this is off topic, I just realized I was flying around to sit and I just realized the audio was being picked up by the podcast. So enjoy that, guys. But no, but you're right. Um, it was definitely one of those moments where we kind of got humbled a little bit. But
Yeah.
Project D is not dead. Okay. Eventually, we will work on it. Eventually, we will get it going. And for those who are in the server, the actual Discord server, go check out D1 Modding Dev. That's where I'm documenting all my work that I'm doing with D1X SNG. I mean, I'm putting like consistently at least 8 to 10 screenshots a day. I'm spending about almost 8 hours a day, on this coding project. And Project D is where you'll find it. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. There's lots of there's still stuff happening on Project D. There's still conversations being made, still people active. There's lots of stuff happening there. But yeah. But let's see here. Who's your favorite opponent to play? That's a good one. That's one of the ones I was excited about asking.
My favorite opponent.
Favorite opponent.
My favorite opponent, it would have to be, let's see.
Old or new?
Yeah, I'm thinking about old. You know what? Actually, I love playing Swarthy. I really do.
Wow.
Like,
Okay,
yeah, I like playing Swarthy. I always have a good time playing him. Like, it's like Swarthy, and I remember playing, having a good time with Rethink. Rethink is also, a worthy, fun opponent. Like, his matches are just fun. Like, they're not really like super intense. You know, and some are, but definitely Swarthy. If you're like, I just want to play and have fun, Swarthy is it. But yeah, that's my answer. Swarthy,
those definitely
absolutely.
been good answers. We don't hear as much from Swarthy as we used to. So
Yeah, like
it's been
I
fun.
remember like, oh, it's like when you play Jedi, you're like, all right, let me get warmed up, and
Right.
you're just this nervous ball of energy for about 20 minutes, and then yeah, you're in. But with Swarthy, it's so much fun. It's like, oh, let's just play Swarthy. It's fun. That's yeah.
So I guess that's a good segue into this next question. Who do you feel like is the most underrated pilot?
The underrated pilot. Oh, that's a really good question.
I asked Lee this question, and his question was his answer was quite interesting.
The underrated pilot. Oh gosh. Man, I don't. Oh gosh, that is a good question. Underrated. So what do you mean? Like in terms of like they're good, but they don't get a lot of action, or
They're good, but they don't get
or
their
they're.
credit. Like
Oh,
normally
okay, they're
someone,
good.
yeah. Like Cyrus would be one of those people that I'd say.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of give an
Well, he
example.
doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't. Hasn't showed up in a while.
True.
That's a good question. Ah, gosh, underrated pilot. I'll have to. Gosh, who is this? Man, you got me good. You got me good here. An underrated pilot. Uh, I would have to say. I don't know, man. I have no idea. I have no clue.
Wow.
Uh,
Totally. Hey,
I have.
man.
Yeah, you got me. Like I can't even think of an underrated pilot because I don't view them as I don't think of them as, oh, this guy is like, underrated. Like,
Okay.
I always think like all my opponents, they're always worthy. They're always like fun to play. They're always like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking about your question, but I can't think of any underrated pilot like that I've ever played. Maybe Skywarp. Yeah,
Skywarp?
maybe
That's a good
Skywarp.
answer. That's a really
Yeah,
good answer.
yeah. Maybe Skywarp. Like before then, like Skywarp was a worthy opponent, but I don't think he got a lot of like um, attention, I guess, or
Yeah.
whatever. But he was still pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my answer. Yeah, Skywarp.
I got an easier question for you. Hopefully this one doesn't
What's
flabbergast you as much.
it?
All right.
All right.
Let's see. D1 or D2? Explain why.
Uh,
I already know the answer.
I yeah. I of course it's D1, but D2 has a place in my heart because D2 is you know I just that's what I used to play when I was a kid and
Yeah.
all the time. And um, if they would just if if the game was just balanced, like with the exotic weapons, like if it was just balanced, then I would love the Helix cannon and the Omega cannon. But
Yep. For
you can
sure.
just you can just zap someone from like 200 shields to nothing and like a you know,
Yeah. Literally. I mean, for
yeah,
real. Yeah.
it's like holy smokes, like you can't. It would be silly for you not to use anything other than the Omega cannon.
I know, right?
you
And
know,
it gets even worse when maps only have one Omega cannon. Like, there's only one Omega
yeah,
cannon, so you're just dying every time you
yeah.
spawn
It's like
in.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And then you're like, man, I'm going to like snipe them with the Helix cannon. I'm going to bounce this, and then
Fill up the
somehow
entire
you die.
hallway.
It's like, what the frick, Like, you're like, I'm going to, bounce the projectiles in the open area so that and then you die, and like, how does this happen,
Another really
And
weird
then
thing about Descent is like the afterburner. Like, yeah, awesome, great. We have an afterburner. Here's my problem with the afterburner. If you're tricording while using afterburner, you're like Sonic, bro. You're like literally the Flash. Like, it's unreal. Like, I just find it ridiculous that you can just like literally zoom across someone's screen. It was always so funny, man. I used to play with the Rangers all the time, and they'd get their afterburner, and they just fly right, like literally blast right past me. You know,
yeah,
it was always just like,
yeah,
what's going on? Like,
I love the afterburner. Like
I know you do.
that's
Everybody
the
loves
only thing
afterburner.
I want, the afterburner in D1. Like, can we have that? Can you put that in there for me?
I can.
just, just like,
I can't
let's
promise
just see what
anything.
happens.
I looked at the code once and it was pretty difficult, but I don't know. It's definitely possible. I mean, there's already code in Descent 1 for the afterburner. Um,
Yeah,
they just never finished it. It's possible. It's possible. I'm not gonna say yes or no.
yeah. I'm just joking.
Yeah,
But
sure
yeah,
you are. Sure you are. No, but that's definitely an interesting question because there are a lot of similarities between D1 and D2, like unbelievably large amount of similarities. But um, I don't know, man. D2 is just kind of wild, man. You got the freaking Phoenix Cannon with the what do you even call them? The Phoenix balls? What would you even call those?
Yeah, it's like projectiles, I
Oh yeah, the
guess.
the
Yeah,
projectiles. They're just bouncing all over the place, and it's just ridiculous, man. I like Phoenix
yeah,
Cannon though. Probably my favorite weapon.
yeah. I like that and the helix cannon, but yeah, if you can just. I think we did play like Descent 2 with only exotic weapons, and the exotic weapons is the Omega, Phoenix,
Yeah,
Helix, the Goss, and you know, and just the exotic weapons, and it was a lot of fun. It was kind of balanced because everything was like deadly. Everything was like super deadly, and you
that's kind
know,
of how Descent works, though. Like, you can make overpowered weapons if everything in the game is overpowered, and it
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
balances
yeah,
out.
yeah, exactly. And like it would be suicidal, really, if you
Super
didn't
lasers.
use and yeah, the super lasers. It's like holy smokes, you can't do anything with it. When you have giant blobs of Phoenix cannon bouncing in front of your view. It's so hard. But it's if you just play Descent 2 with the exotics, I think that's how you should play Descent 2. And then you play Descent 1 with the standard weapons. I think that's how you should play it.
Absolutely, I agree. I agree. I think there are. It's underappreciated. There are good situations to use exotic weapons. It's kind of unfortunate that they are as overpowered as they are. I got a couple
Yeah.
more questions for you. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm not actually 100% sure how you'll respond to this. And this is one of those things that
Okay.
I asked Lee that I feel like I want to ask everybody. Um,
Okay.
what is like some features of a map or plural maps that you wish was more accepted in the Descent community?
Oh, okay.
That's a difficult one
I
to
know
answer,
what. Yeah, I actually do. I want to use the map to my advantage.
right?
So,
Okay.
and you could use your map to your advantage. For example, if some maps are just plain rectangle, and maps like Fuse, you see like a curve up where you can just hide up, next to the curve so that you can protect yourself. It's kind of hard to see. It's kind of hard to explain it without showing you. But in Fused, you can use the map to your advantage, like with the columns, with the raised ceilings and the
Yeah.
curved ceilings, and and the curved floors. Uh,
Yeah.
that map is very unique, and you can use that for your advantage or your disadvantage. Really, like you can knock yourself down, and then but if you like maps like that, I think
Okay.
I think if I see more like that, it'll be awesome.
Kind of like the environment, forcing a style of play.
Yeah, yeah, like you can
I got you.
you can hide behind a column, or you can hide behind something, and it would help you out. Most of these, uh, yeah, like there are some maps. I'm trying to think of one map. Um, yeah, like when you think of gosh, I am blanking right now. Yeah, yeah, that's my answer. Actually, I can't think of anything else.
That's all right. I think there are a lot of maps like that. That's one thing. Columns are a little underappreciated. I'm not gonna lie. When you're in the middle of battle and you just disengage and hide behind the column, like they know where you're at,
Yeah,
but you just avoided a fusion
yeah,
shot.
yeah, absolutely. So like columns in the middle of a dogfighting area seems kind of interesting. That's I think that's a good idea.
Awesome. So, what would you say is your best weapon? I'm not really sure how you'll answer that either.
I'm really good with the plasma. Like, I used to be terrible at it, but now I think I'm really good. And
Interesting.
it is, the plasma is, yeah. So it's kind of like a do-all weapon, right? So the way that I think
True.
of it is, if there's so you would use the plasma in a fusion dogfight, right? Because you can just, um, spray the entire path, the entire room with plasma projectiles, and you can just mess the opponent up, right? That's what you use it for, and then you can, you know, um, you can use the plasma to fill up a hallway or something like that, or and it's pretty strong. It's 11 shields per blob.
Right.
And the rate of fire is
Pretty fast as well, yeah.
pretty fast. Yeah, exactly. Because with the lasers, it's super strong, but it's slow and it's hard to hit someone in an open room. So the point with the lasers is it's got to be directed in like doors or 1 cube length hallways or something like that.
Right.
That way you trap your opponent and they just get hit with tons of damage. Plasma, you can do the same thing. You can do the same thing, but not at the not at the damage of the lasers, but it still does like crazy damage if you have some good hits.
That's true.
But yeah, and you can, if someone comes in, if someone comes out of a door, you just spray them with the plasma bolts, and dude, they're a goner. Yeah, exactly. It's
It
kind
does
of
have like the
interesting.
fastest rate of damage out of any weapon. And that becomes specifically evident in deathmatch.
Yeah, and you just keep spraying them. In big areas, it's great. It's great in small areas. It's great in hallways. Like, I mean, it's like the general purpose, weapon. Whereas each one of the other weapons has specific purposes. You know,
Yeah.
like the like the spread fire, for instance. Like, you would use the spread fire for collateral damage, right? Because or close up, because you can do awesome damage. It's like a shotgun, but say you're not sure how many shields they have, right? You think they have, low shields, right? You can start spraying from afar to see, where they're at. And if you do hear a couple of dings when you do hit them with the spread fire, you're like, okay, well, they have like 30 shields or less, because each one of those is 10 shield. Each blob is 10 shields. Each, and that's just another example. But to your answer, it's plasma is the best. Is my best.
I'm definitely gonna have to watch out for that. I didn't know that you like plasma that much, so now I'm a bit nervous.
Yeah.
All right, man. So we got the long anticipated question, man. The long
Okay.
anticipated question. This is the podcast ritual, and I am super excited to hear your answer because I've heard a little bit about it. But do you have ghost/matrix/haunted stories?
Uh, Actually, I do. When I heard when I heard that you asked Lee last week, I was like, "Holy smokes! I have to say, I have something like that." But yeah, my last home had some weird knocks and real weird like rumblings. Um, it's got like I built this smart home system, and I recorded, any particular noise, whether, no matter how small it is, and then big noises. And one noise came up that set my alarm off. And I'm like, holy smokes, what is it? And I replayed the video, and it was like this dome, dome, dome. And it was like someone knocking. Yeah, it was like someone knocking in the middle of the like home, and like no one was home, no one was outside knocking on the house. Like it was just weird. And then I had other instances where I would have different kinds of sounds, like popping sounds, like pop, and it almost each instance was different. And at this, like, keep in mind, no one was home, like no one was doing stuff outside, like our neighbors wasn't doing anything. Like it was just insane. There was another instance where we heard this like rumbling sound. It was more like a rom, rom, rom. Yeah, it's like, what is this? Like, it was something from, like, I don't know what it was. People might say, oh, it's the dishwasher, or the washing machine. Well, we don't run the washing machine or the dishwasher while we're gone. Like we don't do any of that, and it just blows my mind. And I was sharing all my videos with my brother, and he was showing his work, his friends, and they were all amazed because they were just insane. But yeah, like it kind of blew my mind away, and it's kind of fun. Well, hopefully you can hear some of the noises that I've heard.
Yeah, I'll definitely have some of those videos for everybody to hear. But it's just like, that's just crazy. Like, just random sounds in the middle of nowhere, like at night.
Yeah, there would be times where my wife would be at home, and she would be startled because she heard this loud, I'm talking loud popping sound, because she works from home. And one day she told me she was startled because of this popping sound in the attic. And I'm like, what? And it was like pop. So guess what I did? I got up in the ladder and freaking went up in the attic just to see what's up there. Maybe there was some sort of like animal or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I went around the attic, and I didn't see anything. I was like, it was just like surreal. But yeah, to this day, those noises are unexplainable.
So you do believe in ghosts then?
Maybe, nah, not really. I don't. I believe like there is something. I believe that I don't think I believe in demons. But I don't think my house was like haunted with demons. But hey, do I believe in like? Yeah, do I believe? Do I believe in like Casper? Just and his whatever. I don't believe in all that stuff. No.
But yeah,
there's
it's
there's an explanation.
Noise.
Yeah, it is unexplainable, but I think there is some sort of explanation for that, but I don't have an answer. You. Oh yeah. Well, my new house doesn't have it. Yeah, the house that I moved in doesn't have like knocks and stuff. And mind you, this, it's kind of interesting how it is.
Well, remind me, what was you gonna say?
Well, that house that we lived in with all the noises and everything, it was a new house. Like it was a new house, and maybe the house was settling in, but that still doesn't explain the rumbling sounds that you might hear. Right. So, and that doesn't explain the pops with the higher pitches. It's like it had a pop pop, It's like, how
So,
does that happen? Like, if
yeah,
there's a pop, it's usually like, I don't know.
my
It
mind
blows
goes
my
to like a
mind. Maybe,
lawnmower, like somebody's mowing their lawn and just hit your window or something. But
I don't think it was a lawnmower because you can't hear lawnmowers. Like, it was pretty loud. Like,
oh
you
yeah,
can't
that's true.
hear, the neighbor's lawnmowers from our house. It sounded like it was, in the living room or somewhere. You know.
That's right. I remember too. Whenever I went down to that house, your neighbor didn't mow his lawn like ever.
I know. Yeah, I had some issues with that guy.
But dude, that's insane. Like, I mean, it's unexplainable though. That's the thing that trips you up. Like, okay, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
it's
believe in
definitely.
this. I'm not sure if it's that, but can you explain it? No, I can't.
Yeah, yeah. No, I can't. I can't explain it to this day. It blows my mind.
Well, dude, that's freaking awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing that story, and just
Yeah,
glad everybody gets to hear it.
yeah,
But dude, that just about wraps it up, man.
yeah. Thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed this. This was like so much fun. Hopefully, we can do many more.
You'll be back.
But
You'll be
yeah,
back.
maybe. But yeah, I had a lot of fun, and thank you for having me on your podcast. So
Yeah, man, absolutely. Um, so I just want to go over some big things real quick. Next Saturday is the observatory tournament. Make sure you be there. Like I said, I'm gonna make sure the time is right. I'm gonna put a little number there, a little tag just to indicate which time it really is. But make sure you're there. Beginners are welcome. Like if you're just absolute garbage at Descent, but you love Descent, those people are welcome too. And even though you're not amazing, you still might get some airtime, right? Ron Clay is always looking for the most interesting maps, not always the most, like he's going for the most interesting ones. If there's new pilots, guess what? You might get some airtime. The observatory tournament, like I said, next Saturday. It's going to be 2 to 4 Pacific time. Like I said, I'm going to make sure that that's right. And then, of course, you got all the other announcements that I went over earlier. D1X, D1X SNG 1.6. I'm going to continue working on that. Make sure I can try to get that new version out as soon as possible. Like you heard a couple of times in the podcast, point capture, deathmatch, all fun new game modes that are completely brand new to Descent. If you're looking for a new experience, just be waiting for that release. If you're interested in being on the podcast, let me know. We can figure some stuff out. If you're a community legend, hashtag Arn, come on, please be on the podcast. No, I'm just kidding. Just let me know. If you want to talk about something, maybe project that you're working on, just have a conversation about Descent. I'm more than welcome to message me and let me know. But other than that, I think that just about wraps it up. Thank you again, B2, for coming on the podcast, talking for so long. And until next time.